place where I get to talk to the weird, wacky, wonderful people of this world, people I adore and want to know more about. Today, my guest is Mrs. Kesha Kent. She is a national diversity and inclusion specialist, a professional speaker, author, and she wants you to know that networking is your superpower.
It sure is.
Hi, Kesha.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I am good, and I thank you so much for coming out into the world today.
I wanted to come out in the world today.
Yeah,
just say that.
We need, and there's like 6 feet between us.
Right? And I'm excited to be here. And your smile just brightens up the room. When I walked in, I said, I love her even more today.
And we met at TEDx because you are one of our great volunteers.
I was a volunteer, and I've been a volunteer now 2 years. And the first time I said, I just want to be a part of it because I'm getting on that stage. I'm going to figure out all the details and understand the behind the scenes stuff and what happens on that side.
That is the best way to figure things out, right? And to really understand it. I think there's a lot of people to this day that I don't think truly understand what a TEDx talk is.
Wow.
You know? And it's I'm all about the education of that.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm all about helping people understand what it is, because we get a lot of people that think it's about my inspirational story.
No, ma'am.
I'm like, you're doing this. This is your gift to the audience.
Absolutely.
And your inspirational story can come into play because that's how we learn from each other.
Right.
But at the same time, it's what is your one perspective changing idea? Which is hard.
That is hard to kind of bottle it into one.
Yes.
When you have all of these thoughts that go in.
And then deliver it in 18 minutes or less.
18 minutes!
This way by. There's a lot of practice that goes into those talks.
Wow,
So yeah, it's amazing. But it's fun, and when one of the mission of TEDx Gateway Arch is we're all about creating an inclusive and equitable community, and that is your language. I love
that, and that is my language, and that's what attracted me.
And this is one of my passions. I am all about, why in the heck, people, have we still not figured out we're all one?
Come on, Mish.
Right?
Yes.
Why have we not figured out that we have to learn how to be together, and to quit being so like us and them?
Come on.
It's ridiculous.
Nothing is happening productive.
Us, it's we.
I know.
And the rest of it is just terrible noise that is not bringing us where we need to be. So we need to talk about this more.
Yes.
So I am listening.
Come on. That's it. You said it. It's noise. And what I think is, it's a distraction from the greatness that we all have. It's a distraction from the magic that we can create when we all come together as one. It's a distraction.
Yes.
Bottom line.
And it's a lot of fear.
Fear coupled with the anxiety of, well, what if? Well, what if not? Well, all those things that go into play, that when you remove all of those barriers, because that's what they become barriers. But
Right.
Once you remove those, and everyone shows up minus their title, minus their credentials, minus where they live, minus any of those things, and you just show up, that's when we can have a play date and everybody can play in the sand together, baby. That's how it happens, though. When we decide to say, none of that stuff matters. Because at the end of the day, when you die, you can't take that stuff with you.
No.
You get to show up as who you are, but you get to bring your contribution to the world. But we can't hear each other because there's so much earwax. That's the distraction.
Yeah.
Piled up in here.
And
my God.
It makes me sad that, so many people that do not take the time to become a part of other worlds, to learn from other worlds, right? Do not take the time to listen different perspectives out there.
Right.
You are not allowing yourself a very beautiful gift. And that gift is connection, that gift is growth. And it still baffles me. It just baffles me. Because I love people. So I start with love, right? So I meet someone, I automatically love you. Now, some people have proven that maybe they're not so loving.
Right.
And yet, then I just think, I'm not going to hang out with you, but I will love you from a distance.
From afar.
You know?
Stay over there.
You know, being with you is toxic and not good.
Ooh.
But, generally speaking, when I meet people, I love them. I love people. I love that we are very complicated. I love that we are also not complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, it's interesting to look at people.
Yes.
And so why would you, when you automatically do the they thing, like there's this group that's just the they, and that you've decided all of those theys are this way, then what? You've taken away the richness and the awesomeness. It's like that iceberg. Like you just see this little tippy top thing that you've decided that's that, when there's so much
that's it
there.
That's it. And you miss the beauty of allowing. And that's the one thing that I think is happening. People are taking away that factor of allowing. When we allow, that says, I'm not going to control it. It's not going to be exactly the way I want it to be. There's no cookie cutter response.
Nope.
But we're allowing. That means that you can come to the table with your whatever. Maybe you want coffee and I want water. Whatever it is, we can create when we allow. And that's the piece that in my work I get to tell and share. We need to allow. We need to share. And I love that you said it's the bottom line is love. If we show up in everything that we do in love,
yes,
my God,
how that would change so many people's worlds. If the automatic was not get up and it's me against the world.
Absolutely. Compassion.
Yeah.
That's the thing that you can't teach is compassion.
World. Yeah.
I wish I could. I wish I could, because sometimes being in a human resources background over 20 years, as I'm hearing conversations, if we would just stop empathy first and have an idea and say, well, how would I feel? How would my mom feel?
Yes.
I think that if we showed up there and in love, because all of that is one, then all of these mishaps and these things that we're seeing that are happening in the world, they will become minimized because we first say, well, how would I want to be treated? That's it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's exactly it. Would I want to be treated this way? And if somebody was treating me this way, and I was thinking, well, this is so unfair.
Right.
Right. That is what is going on. That is exactly what's going on.
So let's sound the alarm right now. Everybody listening, show up in love.
Be in love first.
First. And empathy, compassion, all those things will then just fill your cup. And then it'll overflow in whatever space that you're in, the people that you're around. Let it flow and allow what's supposed to be.
So you talked about your work in human resources,
yes,
but now what you're doing now is all about diversity and inclusion. And so how are you bringing that out to the world? What are you involved in?
The biggest things that I get to do today is I get to look at processes and policies to make sure that they are inclusive. I get to look at the marketing. Are things inclusive? Are we including people? What's our verbiage? Let's look at how this was said, and let's look at how we can target individuals who are not getting the seat at the table. How do we prepare the table? But how do we not only prepare the table, how do we bring the different foods that everyone loves so that everybody gets a chance to eat? And when we invite them, they accept our invitation. That's the thing. We can keep inviting people, but if you don't have dinners that are no meat dinners for people that don't eat meat,
right?
They're not going to come.
Yeah,
and they're not being included. So we want to make sure that we're thinking on a larger scale of impact that we get to make to the communities and the people that we serve as an organization. And then as a speaker, what I love to do is with networking, it's your superpower. All of that stuff is in there as well.
Right.
Everything that I talk about in networking are relationships.
Which
connectivity.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
Right. It's
connectivity, connections, making sure that you are connected. And your network, if everybody in your network looks like you, you're missing opportunities.
Right, exactly. So are you working with companies, or who are you working with to make, and I love that you said marketing, right?
Yes.
Because I have seen marketing But I've also seen marketing that is, I know they're trying to be diverse, but the way they do it just feels yucky. Like,
oh yeah,
you know, I mean,
it
was, do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's that, well, let me go find my Asian friend, my black friend, and let me get a picture with them so that I can look really diverse. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's the problem.
And it doesn't have an authentic feel to it. It just doesn't.
And it's not allowing. It's forcing.
Yes, this is what a lot of people don't understand, and I will tell you, I had to be taught this lesson when we started TEDx Gateway Arch. People were like, "Why are there only white people on your stage?" And we're like, "Yeah, we know. We really know. Like, we know, right? We're a bunch of white people. Like, and we gotta where's the diversity?" Right. And I will tell you, and I kid you not. I was always being approached by white men that had their TED Talk. Never anyone else. It was always a white man. I've got a TED Talk.
They're confident.
And I'm like, look how confident. We need all these other people. I need to be more confident. Yeah, I need everybody to be confident we can have diversity. But big lesson. People don't come to you. You have to make the effort to go out and be a part of that community. Right?
That's so good.
That was the biggest lesson I learned. That it looks and it feels yucky to other communities. We're like, hey, will you come in here because we need you to fill up this audience, right? Come in here because we need diversity. Like, people are like, what? Let me do that for you. You know, so,
let me be your diverse one.
Yes, that's a great point. What it really is it's going out and becoming a part of those communities.
That's it. Intentionally building relationships, being authentic, showing up as your authentic, smiling face, the love and light that you bring, because people will be attracted to your natural, authentic self when it's not forced.
Right.
And I keep saying that to leaders within our organization. It doesn't need to be forced. Be who you are, but be willing to listen to experiences that people feel and things that we don't always understand a person's perspective. We won't. But we can be empathetic to say, I'm listening.
Right. Exactly.
And I get to work with organizations, and I also work with individuals. So some small businesses, I've worked with some larger organizations where I've come in to train their teams, and we talk about relationships, and it gets down and dirty. We need to hear some of the things that are being done and said so we can uproot those things.
Right.
And we don't want to just say that we're coming in and we're going to say all these things, or we're putting all these statements out, because I see organizations doing that.
Right.
We want to put the action behind it. So as people come forward and they say, here's what I'm dealing with, now what are the next steps? Let's look at the actions that we take to include people. Let's look at the policies that don't line up. Let's look at how we're rewarding people, how we're bringing people to the table. And if you're recruiting and your team is white,
and you know,
you're going to bring in white.
Exactly. It's so true. And it's actually true with my own little company. You know, we're a tiny little company, and it's the same thing. And it's one of the conversations that, you know, I've had is, I need to eventually, I've got to make this more diverse, because that's part of who I am and what I believe in and what I'm interested in. But there is, so I'm going to give the white people a little, I know it's hard, but you have to be open and willing to do it.
That's that
and
allowing.
Even if that is not what it looks like right now, be ready and open, and honestly, it's being a part of the universe. It's kind of like just putting it out there and saying, universe, I know I want this. Will you help me to bring this to me?
Because the moment that you do that, people will come out of the woodworks. I will volunteer to assist you in that, and make sure that you have that voice or you have that reach, because I think that as we build something bigger that's for our children's children, we must do the work today and make a decision to say, it wasn't that before, but I'm moving forward, and this is what I want. Universe, send me that.
And do you feel like, I really do feel like the younger generation is much more in alignment with this process than,
absolutely.
You know, they are understanding that this isn't how it's supposed to look.
They're outside of the box thinkers.
This?
I know.
I love it.
And they call it out.
And they're questioning it, you know. I mean, growing up, I remember the first time I grew up Catholic, and I remember the first time I figured out that not everybody on earth was Catholic. You know, like I was like,
everybody's not Catholic.
Really?
What?
I thought we were all Catholic.
Right.
But that was my whole world.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand that there were other, I mean, I kind of had an inkling, you know, like I would see, but they all live somewhere else. They live in the United States. So it was like, you know what I mean? So I was like, oh, they're in another country.
Yes.
Yeah, they got, in that country, that's the religion. And here, in the United States,
because we're taught what we're taught in our home, right? We're taught that. And unless we, again, step out of that to understand those things and even to research, to learn, YouTube is an amazing place to research things. I'm just saying. You can go in there and you can just type in Muslim women, whatever.
Right.
And they're going to pull out so much that you can sit there, you can look at conversations, there's podcasts. I always say on a weekly basis, I make sure that I'm tuning in to something that's outside of my norm. Because how can I be abreast to what's going on if I'm not engulfed in it, if I'm not researching, if I'm not finding answers? Maybe I don't know what this is, but I need to find out what such and such acronym means because I'm seeing it all over the place.
Right. Yes. I've looked up a lot of things where I'm like, what is that? I got to figure this out. You know, like the LGBT, where it went, and then it went LGBTQ, and then it went LGBTQA.
I had to look it up too, and I'm in human resources.
You know, well, but and I was like, I have to understand that they're adding these, and there's a reason. There's an intentional reason behind adding that. So I've got to figure out what this means.
Right.
You know, and then even just like, I just watched a really interesting thing on Apple TV that was, I think it's called Out on TV, and it's about, I think it's mainly about the transgender community, and like, and I was so, it just took me aback because they talked about the various TV shows. It was mainly like it was like Jenny Jones and that how all of those they were shown as freaks.
They were.
So the only thing that transgender people had that was reflecting back to them, you know, because like they could watch TV and what they were watching was, you know, the kind of wacky fun family, and you know, but and anytime a transgender person came into view, it was made fun of.
You're right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that is exactly what. And you know, I wasn't thinking that when I was a kid. Like, oh, that's so sad that we would do that. I mean, I had nothing to go on. You know what I mean? But interesting, you know what? One of the shows that did it right was Jeffersons.
Didn't they?
Yeah.
Didn't they?
Yeah.
Early.
It was the Jeffersons. George Jefferson had a friend who was transgender, and at first George, of course, you know, he was kind of
he needed his lesson. So he got his lesson too, didn't he?
Wheezy helped him, you know. But was it Wheezy? Is that what he called her? Isn't it? Yeah. But it was interesting because by the end he respected that person, and I was like, wow.
And I love how it plays out. And if you look at that was in the 80s.
Yeah. Right.
We're in 2020.
And
we're still, where have we gotten? On a lot of these same issues, race relations, that's a word, that was a buzzword. I want to say in the 80s, I have a mentor who was in the military, and they talked about race relations, and they had this big thing, and they were bringing people in to talk about race relations in the military and all this great work they were going to get to do. Do you know that some of that work we're still doing today in 2020?
It feels like it's falling on deaf ears.
I know.
Many times. It feels like there's like this
Are people listening?
There are people working toward it, and then it's like,
I see pockets.
How is this not? Yeah. How is this not a thing? It's like, that's like my main question. How is this not a thing now? Why are we still doing this? It just drives me crazy, and I'm sad.
Don't be sad.
Well, I'm sad that we still have people that are not showing up to the table with love. I just, and I don't even know.
And they need love.
Not get it?
They need love.
That's what I wonder.
They need love. Hurt people hurt people.
True.
And when I think about it in that perspective, even in the grocery stores or even in things that are happening, people will have an outburst and say something just so belligerent to someone else,
right? Because
they're hurting. But when you respond back the same way, you're not winning.
That's true.
You're not winning. Then it just creates this cycle.
Yep.
And it keeps going. But you can say to them, it is okay. And not even give them your energy. I refuse. This energy of mine, this capsule that I keep it in, I'm so overprotective of it.
Yeah.
I am.
I'm with you.
I'm overprotective of it.
Yeah.
And we must be, because there's so much. And don't get me wrong, I'll educate people all day, because I always say in my past life, I was probably somebody's teacher, because I love that space, but I'm also that same teacher that I discipline.
Well, yeah, discipline has to happen, right? It's like with kids. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you give them everything, you're not going to prepare them for the world.
You're not teaching them a thing.
Yeah.
You're not teaching them a thing. But as we train them up, my 12-year-old today, we were having a conversation about gentrification. And shout out to her school, New City School.
Oh, that is a great school.
Those kids are going to come out of that school as leaders. They're going to change the world. They studied the Delmar Divide, the language and the space that they created for them and the families. Oh my gosh. It's the best thing that has happened to our family, because it takes what we've learned and what we're doing and the work for me in diversity, and for me to see the work that they do, it brings me to tears.
That is awesome.
Every time. Oh my gosh.
They need to package that and send it to some other schools.
And they work with a lot of other schools. Their head of schools, Alexis Wright. He is the bomb.com. He has an amazing staff, and he gets it. His team gets it. They just celebrated 50 years. But the school was created just for times like this.
I love it. And that's what we need. We need more of it. And we need more, the younger the better, to start to learn.
Absolutely.
Right? That, you're in this tiny little world of your family and your neighborhood, but it's a big world out there. And you have to go meet and learn about other people.
And cultures and different foods and different religions. To hear some of the things that these kids spoke about. If I could just invite the world into that space, it is such an amazing place for families, raising aware students and raising families, because the kids get it and they take it back home. They're taking it to grandma, they're taking it to aunt, and those conversations that they have. I'm usually sitting back, and I'm never one for no words, and I'm like, okay, Alyssa, go ahead and tell them about tell them about it, Alyssa.
I love it.
I love it.
Well, and and I talk about travel a lot, about how travel is so important, but I also get that travel can be expensive to travel outside the United States. So guess what? We've got this amazing thing called the internet, and you can travel anywhere.
You sure can.
I mean, and so that's no longer an excuse. Oh, I can't afford to travel. It's like, get on YouTube and just look up another city,
your phone,
outside of anywhere, and go learn about it, and go learn about what their culture is and what do they do there, because it's really interesting.
It is.
It's very interesting, and it's how people learn, and it's how we can really maybe someday create an actual one community and understand we're all in this together.
Yeah, one day.
It's kind of my dream.
There's some interaction going on in those spaces too, especially on YouTube. If you go into a YouTube live, people are from all over, and you can talk to them and you can ask questions. There's really a great opportunity for us as people to explore. Yeah, there has to be a willingness, though.
Yes, open your world.
That's my word of the year. Allowing.
Open your. I love it. Allow, please.
Allow.
So I have some questions for you.
Okay.
I know networking is a superpower, but I also know you have a lot of other superpowers. What's another superpower of yours?
I would say one of my amazing superpowers is winning others over. and I understand my strengths today. That came from the Strengths Finder. I'm great at creating space for people, including people, coming to the table to say, what is it that you need? How can I help you? That's been ever since I was a little girl. I would have my friends, and so my cousins would come over that didn't live on our block, and I would include them, or I would invite them, or people that came around. It's always been a gift for me to include people. And I can take an idea. It's another superpower. Activator. You can give me an idea and I can run with it.
Which is huge. It's because there's people out there that run around with ideas only and never implement. And I'm like, ideas are great and they're fun, and we can come up with a lot of them. But yeah, if you and that's how you activate them,
and getting the right team. And so understanding our strengths. Now, I'm not strategic and I'm not an analytical thinker. I don't like spreadsheets.
Oh, me either.
Thank you.
But you do it intuitively.
I do it as needed.
It's actually a joke in my company with me and spreadsheets.
Is it really?
Oh yeah. It's like you don't ask Mich to. You can make a spreadsheet and you can ask her to fill portions of it out, but you can't tell me to make a spreadsheet for you.
I don't love
unless
that.
It's like name, address, phone number. That's about.
But then they want the tables and the formulas and all that stuff. No. And no. I even have an Excel certificate from way back when.
Well,
but I still don't love it.
I get it though. It's one of those things where you're like, I need to learn how to do this, but really, you just need to have somebody else do it because it's just not the skill. It's not my skill set.
It's not my love, and I'm learning to delegate things.
Yes.
And even as I was finishing up my book, I have an amazing team that's gonna get it published, that's going to get the copyrights, that's doing all that. Sierra Dean, thebomb.com.
Awesome.
She's taken that, and I'm learning to delegate and say, okay, this isn't my wheelhouse. I know I don't love creating graphics, and I don't love creating flyers. Let me hire somebody who'll do that, and exactly. I'm willing to give that to you and say, here are my thoughts. Put them on paper for me.
It's a process. I mean, I think it's part of a process we all go through. That there is a time we have to do everything. When I started my company, I had to do everything, including accounting. Oh my gosh. Not my wheelhouse. I'm very bad at it. But I had to do it, and then little by little, as I grew myself, my company, I now can say, I need somebody else that actually knows how to do
and
this,
loves
to
it.
do it. Yeah, like this is what God gave you, that skill, for you to make money.
That's
so
it.
I will now pay you because I can't do it.
That's me.
If I tried to learn it, it would be ridiculous for me to try.
I know, and I'm learning Smartsheet right now.
Now, what is that?
Oh my gosh!
Does it do everything for you?
It does everything, and it automates, and it sends emails to people. And I'm still in this place where I'm still learning, but I'm working to be certified. But I'm not in love with it. And it's like Excel and Google Sheets on steroids.
Ooh. It sounds like it might hurt.
It hurts every time.
Somebody else do it. Let's go get the Smartsheet and or Excel expert.
I've been YouTubing everything. I want the certificate, and I think I probably want it just to say I have it.
There you go. So get it, and then say, "I've got this. I'll be watching you. Do a good job.
Do it." And I'll put in my data.
There you go.
And then I'll automate it, and you do the rest.
We need other people to do spreadsheets.
Yes, all day
for us.
All day.
Okay. You went to Judson University. I don't know anything about this university.
Let me tell you all about it.
I want you to tell me about it.
Judson is in Elgin, Illinois, probably about 50 minutes from the city of Chicago.
Okay.
And Judson is the place where faith for me met my strengths and my desires. Oh my goodness. Judson is a small, well, it used to be small. It was Judson College at first.
Okay.
But now it's Judson University.
Gotcha.
And it's a Christian college.
Okay.
And what they do is they teach the principles of faith in business.
Ooh.
We prayed before class. We prayed when we ended. We brought relationships in through prayer. And it was the place that I got my grounding and my footing.
Aww.
Catapulted from that thing. And it really allowed me to find my voice. I took public speaking. The first public speaking class was there. And I had a professor who was the bomb.com. I can say now, but back then I regret it. Not regret it.
It was like, treacherous. I don't know that I like you.
I was like, I dreaded going to the class because we'd have our note cards. He was a Toastmaster top dog,
right?
All these years, he was teaching us Toastmaster specifics then, but I hadn't been in Toastmasters. I didn't know anything about it. So as you were reading, you couldn't read it verbatim,
right?
And you couldn't say
Which
and
is
he recorded
really hard.
It was,
yeah.
But he taught me so much today that now every time I think of saying I pause and I think on it, and that's what he taught. But he instilled something in me then that I had no idea of the value of that.
Public speaking is huge.
Huge.
It is huge, and it is something that if you want to further everything about yourself, not just your career, but your confidence, your
yes.
all of who you are. If you want to further that, public speaking is a fantastic way to do it.
Absolutely.
Being able to get in front of a group of people and to talk is really and it's, I mean, to me, I love it because, like for TEDx, when I get to be on the stage and announce our next awesome speaker,
yes.
I feel so much love from that audience.
I'm that person too.
Totally,
the energy is real
to me. I mean, I'm just like, gosh, this is awesome. I get to stand up here, and all of this room is filled with people that want to evolve the earth,
yes.
that are willing to listen to different perspectives, that are open-minded enough that they hold space for whoever is on that
right.
stage. That is awesome.
That
is a fantastic, lovely place to be.
That is. And the energy, when I'm up on the stage as well, I feel the energy of the room. And it's almost as if, as I'm giving my talk or I'm talking, that I can hear exactly what it is that you need. Oh, you need this? And it just flows and it comes out. And as you're up there, what it does is it allows you, especially when you command that floor, it's so much power. I'm sweaty thinking about it.
So my next question, power goes right into my next question.
Good.
Because you are a ball of energy. Where does it come from?
It comes from God. It's really a gift, and it's been there. I've learned in my 40s. I'll be 43. My birthday's July 15th.
Oh, coming up.
I've learned.
Happy birthday early.
Thank you. I've learned to channel the energy. Because as a second grader, as a first grader, and as a kindergartner, I couldn't channel it.
It was all over the place.
All over.
Totally scattered.
So everybody that came through the door, I'm, hi. My teacher said, you're going to get in this corner if you don't shut your mouth. And that was my first teacher, Mrs. Todd at Adams Elementary. I still remember her.
You have a good memory.
I remember her because she was pretty. She wore pretty dresses. She was an African-American woman, just like my mom. She reminded me of my mom and my aunts. And so she always said to me, you have power in there, but you have to keep it to yourself sometimes. And that was hard for me to do. And here in my 40s, I've learned to channel it. And I've learned to sit in it and say, okay, that doesn't require my response. This requires my response.
Right.
How will I respond?
Right.
Must be in love. I must glorify God first, because it's not about Kesha. It's about me glorifying who God called me to be. And when I put everything else down, the channeling of the energy is a superpower.
I love it. But that is very well put, because, and I get it, because I know there are times where I've just scattered my energy all over the place because I just didn't know how to hone it in and make it work for you. Yes. It was like just a bunch of circuits. It was like live wires. Here comes Mich. Oh
that
my
used
gosh,
to be my nickname. My friends used to call me a live wire because I was, and I would pop off. But I've learned to not pop off and really understand that everything I don't need to save everybody. I'm such a nurturer.
Right.
And I don't need to save everybody. I don't need to fix people. And I've learned to allow people to show up as who they are. But when they show us and they show me, I got to accept that. and be okay.
Yeah. And protect yourself. We talked about, like, before we even started this podcast, Kesha and I were talking about, that whole thing of we have our happy bubbles, and some people look at it, that idea of a happy bubble is like, I just don't want to think about anything outside. I'm just going to live in, like, kind of like you've got your head in the ground, but that's not it. It's you protecting yourself. You're still in the world, participating in the world, watching the world, but you're also holding space around yourself so that you can better utilize the energy that you have, and that you're being thoughtful about what you're doing, and you're not just like, I always compare it to a tornado. There's people that are just spinning in that tornado, and I'm going to stand in the eye of the tornado as best I can. I'm going to plant my feet there and just love them.
That's it, because that's even what we need to do, is love them. And when they come down out of that thing, are you okay now? Yeah. You ready to talk?
Right, take a breath. All right, can we ground ourselves a little bit? Let's get this going.
I've learned to just ground myself and not force.
And it's difficult to ground yourself when you're a live wire. And I've had to do the same thing. I mean, I was a part of a workshop one time where a gentleman said to me, Mish, most people want to live in this space, and they can't ever figure out how to connect like you can in this, with the universe and the angels. And most people can't do that. You do it so good. Your feet are not on the ground, and you live on Earth, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
That's such a compliment.
It is a compliment, but it also is
too.
You do live on Earth. You can't live up there you have to be. There's a reason why you're here. Yes. Whatever little part I'm here to do and show, and I need to have my feet on the ground too.
And it's that inner work. As you do that, I always say this, as you do the inner work and you work on the insides, the outsides benefit.
Yay!
But there's that inner work that helps. And then it goes also back to knowing who you are.
Yeah.
And knowing who you're not, knowing what your strengths are and what they're not. Because often people that know that you're good at certain things, they will sign you up to do everything.
Oh yeah. Right.
But I've learned to say,
I can't do everything.
No, I can even refer you someone who is great at that. And now I used to write resumes. I don't love writing resumes. I don't. But I know people that are great at writing resumes, and I can refer you. I don't love doing things like coaching people on relationships and how they move through their relationships. Now, down the line, I think that may be something that my husband and I will talk about more, because we've been in our relationship and we've been in other relationships, and we've learned how to channel our energy together as one, on one accord, co-create, and make magic in whatever we do. So down the line, but today, that's not my wheelhouse. So I'm learning to say, I can get someone that does that. I can refer you, and I will commit to finding the right person, because I'm not your girl.
I love it. Well, I love so much of what you're doing, and I just thank you for being a guest on the podcast. So will you tell people where they can find you?
Absolutely. I always say LinkedIn is my number one place that you can find me.
Yes, I know.
I love LinkedIn.
I see you on LinkedIn
We're
all the
besties
time.
on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. But you can find me on my website. It's MrsKeishSpeaks.com. My book is also available for pre-sale.
I noticed. Congratulations. That's a big milestone.
Thank you. It's huge. And it took a lot of allowing.
Yes.
And I stopped forcing, and I said, okay, when this energy is right, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do it. Set some goals. The goals don't work. Go ahead and set some more goals.
You have a Facebook group for networking.
I do have a Facebook group,
that's
Networking It's Your Superpowers, where you can also find me from time to time.
I love it. Thank you, Mrs. Kesha.
You're welcome. This is such a fun time.
I have so enjoyed our talk today. Thank you, ma'am.
You're very welcome.
And everyone out there, if it's a podcast place, we're probably there. Check out MichMash. Have wonderful days. And we love you.